Some people pray for you and me. We never met them per today. They feel our presence, hurt and needs, and send a thoughtful wish their way. Some people pray to heal their ills, cripples, cancer, plague, and cold. Their lives in peril, pain instilled, born to suffer till they're old. Some people pray for wealth and fame. Their lack of it is their distress. They use their penance for their gain, leading to their own success. Some people pray but don't believe. Doubt and anger cloud their sight, and yet some hope can still be seen, of which they will hold on tonight. I pray for healing of the world, alone and anywhere I can. When silence calls, I am controlled, not by idle creed or man. Today and as long as I live, my song and words spell suffering. If love is all that I can give, then may this nature hold us in. Cause many cry and are not heard, the ones whose lives they can't rebuild. My voice cries out for their accord. It does now and always will. All right, thank you so much for being here. I have to change some of my settings here before we continue on with the show. Let me check real quick. Get rid of the mirror, that should do it. And what is one more thing to do. Just gotta. There we go. Okay, now we're back. Okay, so let me get rid of the ticker tape. Okay, so here we go. Whoa. What was that about? Huh. All right. So, I want to start off tonight's show. Whoa. Hold on. Something's really off here. Give me a second. All right, just loose wire. Thank goodness. All right, so I'm going to start off tonight, give you a little bit of history. So, on March 31st, 1968, in the midst of great scrutiny from the American people, then President Lyndon Johnson announced that he would not seek nor accept the nomination for another term as president. This led to a massive shuffle in the Democratic Party, as the rush to find a new presidential nominee was now underway. At this time, the American public were conflicted on the constant news stories about the war in Vietnam, with images of bombing raids being broadcast on television nightly, and a growing anti-war movement throughout the country. Ultimately, Vice President at the time, Hubert Humphrey, was selected as the nominee, even though he never ran in a single state primary. Most of the delegates he learned were either inherited from President Johnson and assassinated nominee Robert F. Kennedy, or handed to him in caucuses that were run by establishment bosses. Humphrey's nomination was loudly contested both outside and inside the convention hall. These shouts of discontent were broadcast on television for millions of Americans to see, and it led to a Democratic Party in complete disarray. Humphrey attempted to heed the anti-war crowd by announcing changes to his policy in Vietnam, but they were seen as insufficient by anti-war voters. Ultimately, between the controversial nomination period, the chaotic convention, and Humphrey's mixed messages about the war and other issues, the presidency went to Republican nominee Richard Nixon. And now, 56 years later, history has repeated itself, almost to a T. Hello, hello, hello. Is there anybody home? I only called to say I'm sorry. The drums are in the dawn, and all the voices gone, and it seems that there are no more songs. Once I knew a girl, she was a flower in a flame. I loved her as the sea sinks sadly. Now the ashes of the dream can be found in the magazines, and it seems that there are no more songs. Once I knew a sage who sang upon the stage, told about the world, his lover. Now a ghost without a name stands ragged in the rain, and it seems that there are no more songs. The rebels, they are here. They came beside my door. They told me that the moon was bleeding. Then all to my surprise, they took away my eyes, and it seems that there are no more songs. A star is in the sky, it's time to say goodbye. A whale is on the beach, he's dying. A white flag in my hand, and a white bone on the sand, and it seems that there are no more songs. Hello, 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 is there anybody home? I only called to say I am sorry. The drums are in the dawn, and all the voices gone, and it seems that there are no more songs. And it seems there are no more songs. All right, thank you. That was No More Songs by Phil Oakes. So continuing on, as I was reading about what happened in 1968, I was learning about it in preparation for tonight's show, because I'd heard about all the parallels of what happened. And I was honestly shocked about the parallels between what happened then and now. Of course, you replace the names of the sitting president, the nominees, and the eventual winner, and it's almost the exact same situation. Of course, there are a few differences as well. I would argue that 2024 was a worse outcome than 1968. Whereas Nixon won by only a slim margin, Trump's win was much more decisive, to say the least. And whereas Humphrey did not compete in any primaries, Kamala Harris got the nomination without there ever being a primary for her. Whereas the Achilles heel for Humphrey was his conflicting stances on the war in Vietnam, there was much more at play that led to Kamala's loss last week. There are many theories being floated around by political analysts and pundits in the media. And most of them I've seen are insanely stupid. I'm no expert, but I have come to an educated conclusion as to what happened. That there were two things that led to Kamala's loss. Two big things. The first has to do with the working class vote. They did not turn out for her. And after seeing the exit polls, it's pretty clear why. Nearly half of voters, probably even more of working class voters, stated that they were financially worse off now than they were 4 years ago. They never recovered from the crash of the pandemic. And with inflation that is corporate greed, constantly on the rise over the Biden presidency, and wages as stagnant as ever, it's no wonder why they would feel that way. And with Kamala and the Democratic Party on the campaign trail, pretending that the economy is so great, touting Bidenomics and all of these jobs programs that frankly didn't work, it's no wonder they would become so disillusioned. And you know it's bad when, with all the progress the Democratic Party has made in racial equality, that even Black and Latinian working class voters were steered more towards Trump. That is a move of desperation. Some form of relief from the reality of being increasingly poor despite having a job, or 2 or 3. So desperate that even all of Trump's bigoted statements about them don't matter in this moment. Parched crops dying neath the dead sun. We've been praying, but no good comes. The dogs howl and the home stripped bare. We've been worried, but now we're scared. People come for comfort or just to come. Taste the dark, sticky potion, or hear the drums. Hands raised to Yahweh to bring the rain down. He comes crawling across the dry fields like a dark shroud. Rainmaker, little faith for higher. Rainmaker, the house is on fire. Rainmaker, take everything that you have. Sometimes folks need to believe in something so bad, so bad, so bad. Rainmaker. Rainmaker says white's black and black's white. Says night's day and day's night. Says close your eyes and go to sleep now. I'm in a burning field unloading buckshot in the low clouds. Rainmaker, faith for higher. Rainmaker, the house is on fire. Rainmaker, take everything that you have. Sometimes folks need to believe in something so bad, so bad, so bad. Slow moving wagon drawing through a dry town, painted rainbow, crescent moon, and dark clouds. Brother Patriot, come forth and lay it down. Your blood, brother, for a king crown. For your rainmaker. They come for the smile, the firm handshake. They come for the raw chance of a fair shake. Some come to make damn sure, my friend, this mean season's got nothing to do with them. They cause they can't stand the pain, or another long hot day of no rain. Cause they don't care or understand what it really takes for the sky to open up the land. Rainmaker, little faith for higher. Rainmaker, the house is on fire. Rainmaker, take everything that you have. Sometimes folks need to believe in something so bad, so bad, so bad. The higher. Rainmaker. Thanks very much. That was Rainmaker by Bruce Springsteen. Now, I do want to clear something up here. I firmly do not believe in judging or condemning voters for voting the way they do. That blatantly goes against my moral code. Because I recognize there's much more at play in a person's vote than the general consensus. Most of us have to hold our nose to vote for one candidate over the other. But I will gladly criticize candidates for ignoring the needs of their potential voters or for misguiding them. And both Trump and Harris are guilty of that for sure. Harris basically told the increasing number of working class Americans who struggle to make ends meet that they don't exist. And Trump, on the other hand, did acknowledge them, but horrifically misplaced the culprit to their suffering, blaming it on immigrants and foreigners rather than rich business owners like himself manipulating the system in their favor. He exploited their struggle to win another term in the Oval Office. He won't do anything to help them. And there is not a single piece of me that believes that Kamala would have done anything if she won. Neither candidate will ever acknowledge the true reason that they are in this constant state of suffering. On the day the levee broke, the water did rise and the flowers did choke. I sat in my living room, lit one last smoke, then I watched it all drift away. Now my credit card's ringing up at 30%. There's a man in India wondering where the money went, but I can't pay. So I sat on my roof in Lake Pontchartrain, singing woe to my chimney, singing woe to the rain. A stranger came by and never caught his name, said he's rowing to the Rio Grande. Air Force One, a blue streak in the sky. Mr. President, you can't afford to lie, 'cause I can't afford to pay. Hurricane Angel, hold it to my eyes over Baton Rouge. Lift up your wings, let me hear your voice sing. Can you turn these black skies to blue again? I'm laying on the floor of a trailer at night with 16 refugees waiting on daylight. I can't pay. I caught a flatbed Ford up to Baton Rouge with 4 worn-out souls and 1 old corkscrew. You can drown New Orleans, but you can't drown the blues, so bartender, pour away. Exxon's had 'em one hell of a year. $3 a gallon, man, they're making it clear that I can't pay. haven't spoken in many a day. I got myself in trouble down in the Ninth Ward. I thought I'd send a prayer your way. On my windowstill's a stack of insurance bills. A man in Delaware says I can't have the pills until I can pay. Hurricane Angel, I'm lifting my eyes over Baton Rouge. Lift up your wings, let me hear your voice singing. Can you turn these black skies to blue again? Or land on the floor of a trailer at night with 16 refugees waiting on daylight. I can't pay. Somebody should pay. On the day the levee broke, the water did rise and the flowers did choke. I sat in my living room, lit one last smoke, and I watched it all drift away. I can't pay. 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 In America, money means everything. You have no money, you have no power. Politics in America is always steered toward the rich and powerful. I remember back in 2010 when the Citizens United ruling undid most of the campaign finance laws we had in place, which I believe were insufficient to begin with. From then on, filthy rich business moguls were free to give as much money as they want to as many politicians' campaigns as they want with minimal oversight. Now, the practice of massive campaign donations is nothing new. For decades now, the rich would give large sums of money to campaigns from both major parties in an effort to have the law tilted in their favor. And it has worked exponentially for them. And today, the laws that regulate corporate crime like labor exploitation, mass pollution, material standards are minuscule compared to what I believe they should be. And I hear stories all the time about massive corporate entities like Amazon, Starbucks, Tyson, Boeing, and so many others exploiting workers, spilling so much pollution into our air and water that it wipes out entire towns, and so much more. But the system is so heavily stacked up in their favor that any hope of progress on this front at this point is pretty much non-existent. This is why I don't believe we live in a democracy. As far as I'm concerned, this is an oligarchy. The politicians are not the ones in charge. It belongs to the highest bidder. Well, I dreamed I went out wandering. I heard promises become fables forgotten. I saw bridges stretching out across the water, and towers pushing taller. I knew my reality was clearly defined by the fences put up around my mind. I watched them thicken into walls over time, taller than any borderline. I saw civilizations deemed insignificant. I saw people's history tattooed on their skin. I saw families taken from their land, dynasties shattered and stolen. And I asked, when is a revolution? is a revolution. In all the burdens of centuries accrue that get passed along to every generation's youth, and all the allegories told in lieu of truth, I watched them grow wild and spread like the flu. I saw the rise of an untamed industry. I watched machines paint a paper economy. I saw my own self stand right in front of me, and I didn't do a thing. I saw poisons pushed in the street, and prescription pills mingling in the mezzanine, with a whole host of wealth, doctors and pharmaceutical companies. Still, poor people were dying from disease. And I asked, when is a revolution? 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 And I broke down at the break of dawn. I saw new meanings in the clouds above the Pentagon, as real as the Holocaust, as strong as the Parthenon. Visions of Sudan, Iraq, and Vietnam. I stood silent upon a flooded levee and stared at the ruins of a merchant city, and the president who came to dine with the noble elite. He didn't do a thing. I saw 3 ships come sailing in through the passage of the Caribbean. I saw children coming home in coffins, and millions marching on Washington. And I asked, when is a revolution? I asked, when is a revolution? I asked, when, oh, when is a revolution? I asked, when is a revolution? Thank you. That was I Asked When by Brett Dennen. I mentioned there were 2 issues that spelled Kamala Harris's demise in this election. The second one is the one that ties in the most with 1968. Like the voters then were disillusioned by images of the Vietnam War, The voters of today were disillusioned by images of the war in Gaza, and especially America's heavy involvement in it. Sure, we were not being drafted into it like back then, but our tax dollars are going towards it. Sending a seemingly endless supply of weapons to Israel, which has gone almost exclusively towards bombing entire towns and cities, killing thousands of people, mostly children, in the process. Young people especially are rightfully disgusted by the goings-on in the Holy Land. All the destruction at the hands of Israel is what I can only describe as a genocide and an attempted ethnic cleansing. Israeli leaders and generals are in the process of, in their own words, wiping Palestinians off the face of the earth. And they're doing it with the help of our tax dollars. And again, going back to money is everything. Weapons manufacturers like Boeing and Raytheon and the people who run them are making a killing off of this war. Profits are through the roof, and their CEOs and directors are among some of the richest men in America. Again, they're the ones who are really in charge. I've been waiting for something to happen, for a week or a month or a year, with the blood in the ink of the headlines and the sound of the crowd in my ear. You might ask what it takes to remember when you know what you've seen it before, where a government lies to its people and a country is drifting to war. There's a shadow on the faces of the men who send the guns to the wars that are fought in places where their business interest runs. On the radio, talk shows, and TV, you hear one thing again and again: how the USA stands for freedom, and we've come to the aim of a friend. But who are the ones that we call our friends? These governments killing their own, or the people who finally can't take anymore, and they pick up a gun or a brick or a stone, and there are lies in the balance. There are people under fire. There are children at the cannons. There is blood on the wire. There's a shadow on the faces of the men who fan the flames of the wars that are fought in places where we can't even say the names. They sell us the president the same way they sell us our clothes and our cars. They sell us everything from youth to religion, the same time they sell us our wars. I want to know who the men in the shadows are. I want to hear somebody asking them why. They can be counted on to tell us who our enemies are, but they're never the ones to fight or to die. And there are lies in the balance. There are children under fire. There are children at the cannons. And there is blood on the wire. That was Lives in the Balance by Jackson Browne. In late April of this year, massive protests erupted across the country against the U.S. involvement of the war in Israel. Here in New York, we saw students take over the campus of Columbia University in the name of a free Palestine. I saw them wave Palestinian flags all over the school and spill into the city streets and beyond with great numbers, despite threats of expulsion from the prestigious Ivy League school. Unfortunately, I also saw the backlash to the backlash. Pundits on mainstream news media consistently condemned the protesters as anti-American, which is nothing new in the history of anti-war movements in America. I saw them dismiss the movement as anti-Semitic, justifying their statements with scattered instances of hate crime against Jewish people in the name of the movement. This, despite the fact that protest organizers and the movement at large have repeatedly disavowed any violence or hateful rhetoric towards Jewish people. And of course, they are right to do so. But these criticisms and condemnations of the Free Palestine movement also share parallels to those made during Vietnam. They recycled many of the same talking points from back then and applied them directly to the protests today. They lie about violence, drug use, and possible outside influence. All the rhetoric was there. And I am thankful that 54 years later, we didn't see another Kent State massacre. 10 soldiers and Nixon coming. We're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming for dead in Ohio. Gotta get down to it. Soldiers are cutting us down. Should have been done long ago. What if you knew her, found her dead on the ground? The war in the Holy Land became a deciding factor in many young people's decision to vote this year. And you wouldn't know it simply by watching the news. But I saw anti-war protests outside and occasionally inside of every Kamala Harris rally after she received the nomination. This included the Democratic Convention, yet another parallel to 1968, with the Battle of Michigan Avenue. These people were not at all satisfied with Biden or Harris's response to the genocide. With the same overused talking points of Israel having a right to defend itself and empty promises of a ceasefire, Kamala herself was openly hostile to the Free Palestine protesters at her rally, famously shouting, "I'm speaking," to a group at one of her rallies. Much to the movement's dismay, "I'm speaking" became an unofficial motto for Kamala voters at future rallies, often being printed on T-shirts worn by rallygoers, as if it was some kind of strong feminist action, as opposed to showing ignorance to people who don't want to see scores of children die in massive bombing raids. And on top of ignoring them, she decides to tout Liz Cheney as a spokesperson for her campaign, as well as the endorsement of her father, Dick Cheney, who dragged us into a whopping 3 wars where thousands of innocents were killed at our hands. The movement as a whole was horrifically disappointed at Kamala's actions, simply hoping for an acknowledgement to their concerns without reverting to the same old talking points. She failed them. And many on the anti-war side vowed to not vote in this election. And judging by the voter turnout for ages 18 through 29 this year, I'd say they kept their word. It was the lowest turnout of young voters in decades. These people are the next generation of political activists, coming of age as we speak, and they have proven they are not playing around. They threatened their vote for an end to war. The Democrats tried to call their bluff, and they failed. They stayed home on election night. Now, I know a lot of you will disagree with me, but I truly believe this. Those kids have more integrity than Kamala will ever have. And do you know how I know this? They took no glee in Trump's victory, because they know he is just as hawkish as Kamala, and his cabinet picks so far prove it. But instead of moping over fears of another Trump term, they went right back to organizing. They didn't miss a beat. They are still protesting out in the streets on a regular basis even now. Sure, the protests are going to slow down now that the weather is getting cold, but they proved they are a force to be reckoned with, and they're not going anywhere. These aren't a bunch of dumb kids writing some trend. These are academics who go to some of the most acclaimed colleges in the world. They put their money where their mouth is, and they proved it. These children are our future, so listen to them. This song is called "Children Lead the Way." On the banks of the Jordan, where Jesus once stood, the feast streets filled with rubble were once neighborhoods. Their women and children, their bodies lay bare, destroyed by the bombs we dropped from thin air. The suits at their desks in New York and D.C., they're telling us not to believe what we see. The good and the evil is firm on its side. We're not gonna buy it. The numbers don't lie. There's death in the So they walked out of class, they set up their tents, and to their descendants they paid off their debts. Take over the halls, stating their case. They stand by their words, do whatever it takes. There's an army against them with weapons and words, tear gas and fists, gaslights and slurs. They send in the guards, our bodies they throw, the bullets they carry were shot long ago. There's death in the darkness, life in the light, seen in their faces, steadfast and bright. There's hope for the future as long as they stay. So let the children lead the way. Across the courtyard and onto the streets, their message is spoken, peace and relief. Their voices are mighty and ring like a bell, where justice is heaven and order is hell. So let's not forget, when we once were young, they stood against Vietnam, Iraq, and the gun. Now this generation is ready to fight. Show that we're with them, stand up for what's right. There's death in the darkness, life in the light, seen in their faces, steadfast and bright. There's hope for the future as long as they stay. So let the children lead the way. Yes, let the children lead the way. I will share with you one positive that came out of this election, and that was the down ballot measures. For example, Kamala made abortion rights a staple of her campaign, one of the few things that she did right. Now, a true cynic will tell you, just looking at the presidential election, that Kamala's loss means that Americans don't really care about abortion, or that the tide is turning on the pro-choice issue. Well, that was proven very, very wrong. 10 states had abortion rights directly on the ballot this year. And of those 10, 7 of them passed. This included a full repeal of Missouri's total abortion ban. This despite the fact that Missouri is currently a dedicated red state that Trump won easily. The same was true in Montana, Arizona, and Nevada, all of which Trump won. Even in the 3 states where they didn't pass, that being Nebraska, South Dakota, and Florida, the measure still got more votes than Kamala did. In fact, in all 10 of these states, the abortion measures were far more popular than Kamala was. Even here in New York, Proposition 1 got a higher percentage of votes than Harris did. And as expected, she won pretty decisively here. So if you hear anyone saying jeopardy, these statistics will certainly tell you otherwise. Or at least, if the Trump administration does come for abortion rights, the pro-choice movement won't go down without a fight. This is Dust on My Face. Seen all their faces, unhealthy and poor, not yet to be mothers, show up at our door. You pray for their souls, then turn them away, like a plague that can kill you if their touch were to stay. Imagine if you were to be in their shoes. Could you feel desperation and know where to move? Where fortune deceives you in its sickening game. I wonder if you would still think the same. The dust on my face, how does it compare to the mud that's in yours, the cakes in your hair? The silence is loud against the words that you say. When the battles you lost, you'll fight anyway. I've seen you forgive the men who have killed the mothers and children who passed through this field. It gave them no mercy and no last goodbyes. They gave no I'm sorry, but you said it was fine. Then you defend those who think that their pain compares to the victims of genocide plain. When your own children left stripped of and cried, you left them alone and did not bat an eye. Dust on my face, how does it compare to the mud that's in yours, the cakes in your hair? The silence is loud against the words that you say. When the battles you lost, you'll fight anyway. I learned it the hard way when you went after me to defy your commands when they're against the sea. I was a tool for a vision so cruel. You needed me, but I didn't need you. The sacred is everywhere, and I won't fight this war. This joy and this freedom, I've felt this before. Now that I'm gone, don't await my return, for I have seen heaven with no blood nor burn. The dust on my face, how does it compare to the mud that's in yours, the cakes in your hair? The silence is loud against the words that you say. When the battles you lost, you'll fight anyway, and the ones are worth fighting, you leave us astray. Oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? Where have you been, my darling young one? I've stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains. I've walked and I've crawled on 6 crooked highways. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests, been out in front of a dozen dead oceans, been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. And it's a hard rain's gonna fall. Oh, what did you see, my blue-eyed son? What did you see, my darling young one? I saw a newborn baby with wild wolves all around it. I saw a highway of diamonds with nobody on it. I saw a black branch with blood that kept dripping. I saw a room full of men with their hammers bleeding. I saw a white ladder all covered with water. Saw 10,000 talkers whose tongues were all broken. I saw guns and sharp swords in the hands of young children. And it's a hard rain. It's gonna fall. What did you hear, my blue-eyed son? And what did you hear, my darling young one? I heard the sound of a thunder that roared out a warning. I heard the roar of a wave that could drown the whole world. I heard 100 drummers whose hands were blazing. Heard 10,000 whispering and nobody listening. I heard one person starve. I heard many people laughing. Heard the song of a poet who died in the gutter. I saw the sound of a clown who cried in the alley. And it's a hard rain's gonna fall. Who did you meet, my blue-eyed son? And who did you meet, my darling young one? I met a young child beside a dead pony. I met a white man who walked a black dog. I met a young woman whose body was burning. I met a young girl, she gave me a rainbow. I met one man who was wounded in love, and I met another man who was wounded in hatred. And it's a hard rain's gonna fall. And what you'll do now, my blue-eyed son? And what do you do now, my darling young one? I'm a-going back out before the rain starts a-falling. I'll walk to the depths of the deepest dark forests, where the people are many and their hands are all empty, where the pellets of poison are flooding their waters, Where the home in the valley meets the damp, dirty prisons, and the executioner's face is always well hidden. Where hunger is ugly, where souls are forgotten, where black is the color, where none is the number. And I'll tell it and speak it and think it and breathe it. Reflect from the mountains so our souls can see it. And I'll stand on the ocean until I start sinking. And I'll know my song well before I start singing. And it's hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rains are gonna fall. Yes. Yes, we have tough times ahead of us, folks, but I'm not going to sit around and pretend all hope is lost. I'm a firm believer in people power as the primary driver for positive change in America. I gave up on electoral politics long ago. Our elected leaders won't do anything unless the masses pressure them to do so. The purpose of this show tonight is not to depress you or reignite a state of dread for the future. If I did that, then I'm sorry for failing you. Now, the purpose of tonight is to drive you to action, to make a better world for all of us and for future generations, no matter who is sitting in the Oval Office. I don't care what Trump says. He cannot stop all of us if we are able to stand together. Yes, it's going to be grueling work, and we're not going to get everything that we demand, or at least not right away. But no people-powered movement has ever worked fast. It took over 40 years after Stonewall for gay rights to become the law of the land. And over 60 years later, we're still waiting for Martin Luther King's dream to come true. But while cruising through American history over the years, I have never been able to find one positive movement that didn't start in the streets. All the way back to the American Revolution. Everything from ending slavery, women's suffrage, ending child labor, ending Jim Crow, all the way up to the present-day fights to end income inequality, climate change, corporate pollution, gun violence, and the push for unionizing the workforce. These people changed the world for the better. And now it's our turn. I do regret to say that I can't point you in the right direction. Whenever I find an event or protest that I'm interested in and want to be a part of, I don't find out about it until after the fact. But I am making a commitment now to be more proactive about what I believe in. I am seeking out information about the things I care about, and I want to get involved in movements towards true justice and peace. And I want you to do the same. In conclusion, real positive change in America is not going to come easy. It never has, and it certainly won't over the next 4 years. But it is necessary. And it is necessary for as many of us as possible to speak up and get involved. Rock the boat. Whatever issue you find unjust, we need you to speak up. You don't need a weapon. Your voice is more than enough. To quote Mary Morello, history, like music, is not something that just happens. It's something you make. The money gives the orders high, officials blind and pockets lined. They either don't see or they just don't care. Everybody knows their names, finish line. Once the celebration ends, the trophy's handed to the strong, and litter lines the decrepit streets. But that is where the work begins. Heroes work behind the scenes. Sweepers line as the cameras flee. Don't give the trouble of saying we don't really matter here. We're not gonna win the here and now. It's a different race we're here to run. Behind the tape that we spread out, basking in their fake fluorescent sun. Our gears begin to grind just past the finish line. We are the cleaners, the drivers, street sweepers, who clean up the guns. We are the rebels, the fighters, crusaders, and fathers and mothers, daughters and sons. We're not gonna win the here and now. It's a different race. We're not gonna win the here and now. It's a different race we're here to run. Behind the tape that we spread out, basking in their fake fluorescent sun. Our gears begin to grind just past the finish line. Yeah, just past the finish line. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure to sing for you tonight. It's good to be back to live streaming again. I'm going to play one more song for you, but first, I want to let you know, first of all, the next live show is going to be all the way up in the Boston area this Saturday. I'm playing at Club Passim in Cambridge, Massachusetts, right by Harvard, opening up for Laurie McAllister, my good friend Laurie. And if you're out in Boston, I encourage you to get your tickets. Last I heard, there are 6 left. 6 tickets left for Club Passim. So if you want to come out Saturday night, 8 p.m., me and Laurie McAllister, I would love to see you there. The next live stream is going to be All Request Night. We're going to be back here again next Tuesday, same time, same place. And it'll be really great to see you again there too. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that as well. But for now, going to close out the show the way I usually do. This is how you say goodbye. The bases are loaded. I bow down to the floor. A single shot on this green plot is all I'm asking for. September is faded. No room for wanting more. My sad goodbye that's spoken through this stadium ensures. The temple is floating. The cheers sound much too good. The backyard sales of tallest tales is far too understood. I've taken my chances with a slightly crooked grin and a fire in my eyes and a timely telling sin. If the pitch comes in over the plate, just the right speed and perfectly straight, swing of the bat and it cracks and the crowd goes wild. It's a long line drive to dead center field. It's over the wall and the leg legacy sealed. That, my friends, is how you say goodbye. So many moments, but none to save the day. I never had that chance, but that's the price I had to pay. But now I am grounded. The fans ignite the flame, and the lightning says straight road ahead to glory and to fame. When the pitch comes in over the plate, just the right speed, perfectly straight. Swing of the bat and it cracks and the crowd goes wild. It's a long line drive to dead center field. It's over the wall and the legacy sealed. That, my friends, is how you say goodbye. Oh, this face looks better than a morning glory blue, but I've struck out way more times. You can fit in this old room, but as I turn to leave, I'll find strength I'll never tell. So I'm climbing up and down escalator for one last kiss farewell. And the pitch comes in over the plate, just the right speed and perfectly straight. Swing of the bat and it cracks and the crowd goes wild. It's a long line drive to dead center field. It's over the wall and the legacy sealed. And that, my friends, is how you say goodbye. Oh, and that, my friends, is how I say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. It's so good to be back to live streaming again. Once again, Club Passim in Cambridge, Massachusetts. 6 tickets left for the show. It's Saturday at 8 p.m. I apologize for that. I knew that was coming. Let me turn that back on. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, 6 tickets left for Club Passim. If you want to go there, want to go to the show, you have to act fast. My people in Boston. And of course, the All Request Night stream is going to be next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Usual places: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I apologize I couldn't get Instagram working tonight. I will troubleshoot to see exactly what happened there. And one last thing. Remember, don't despair for the future. Get involved. Be a voice for change in difficult times. I have made that commitment, and I hope to see you there too. Peace and love, you guys. Take care of yourselves.